Here's what you should know about your local housing market in this week's Market Update. Now, before we get into the stats, let's talk about this huge snowstorm we're going to be getting this weekend. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a ton of fun with all the snow, sleigh riding, building snowmen with the family, shoveling. I love a good snowstorm. If you hate the snow and you found yourself complaining most of this week and continuing to complain about this upcoming snowstorm, talk to me. We can move you to a state that does not get snowstorms, and then we can move somebody nice, people into your home that will enjoy New Jersey for what it has to offer. So again, if you find yourself constantly complaining about this upcoming snowstorm, talk to me. We can fix that for you. But for the rest of us that are going to enjoy this snowstorm, let's talk some quick safety tips. If you have a direct vent furnace, if you're not sure what that means, if instead of venting your furnace up the chimney, there's a white PVC pipe going down the side of your house, make sure that stays clear of snow. If that gets covered with snow, you and your family will die of carbon monoxide poisoning. That's not good. Simple, just keep checking on that. Make sure that that hasn't built up with snow. Even if the snow hasn't gotten that high, make sure there's no snow drifts that are covering that up. Number two, regardless of what type of furnace you have, make sure you have carbon monoxide detectors. Make sure they are installed properly. Make sure they are working. Your furnaces will be working harder than normal, both this weekend with the snow, but next week it's going to be extra cold. If you have a carbon monoxide leak, it will be exacerbated because your furnace will be basically running constantly. So be aware of that, be cautious, be safe. Finally, your furnace filters, if you haven't changed your furnace filters in a while, do that before this weekend. Like I said, your furnaces are going to be working harder than normal. If they have a clogged filter, a filter that's full of muck and dust, your furnace is going to have to work even harder. So it's going to be running a lot. Make sure that that's nice and clear and running efficiently. So that being said, let's get into the stats this week. Today, we are looking at the stats for Morristown, Chatham, Madison, Harding, Marsh Plains, Mendham, Chester, Bernardsville, Basking Ridge, and Randolph for the week ending January 23rd, 2026. This past week, we saw 22 homes come on the market. That's the exact same amount we saw last week come on the market. Out of these, 15 were single-family houses, and 7 of them were condos or townhouses. The average list price was $1,147,000. Total inventory, we saw a nice 9% increase over last week. Currently, there are 143 homes actively on the market in these towns. Total sold homes, we saw 15 homes sell this past week in these towns. That's a 15% increase over the prior week. The average list price of these homes was $791,000. The average sale price was $837,000. So this past week in these towns, homes sold for an average of 5.1% above the list price. All right, before we get into how high above the towns went individually, let's talk about the ones that went below list price. We had Harding with one sale that sold 3% below the list price. And then we had Basking Ridge with 3 sales that averaged at 1% below the list price. Other than that, though, oh man, we had everything going way above. Other than those 2 outliers, we saw Madison sell with an average of 5% above the list price. We saw Chester sell 7% above list price. Mendham sell 8% above list price. Randolph sell 9.3% above list price. And Morristown sell 10.2% above list price. So yeah, we've got some outliers, but otherwise we're seeing these homes go way above list price. So do be aware of that if you're actively in the market to buy a home. Average days on market for the home sold, 23 days on market. That's a 32% increase over last week. And then finally, under contract, that is the least complete data that we have out here, but the most current data out here. Not surprisingly, we saw the number of homes come on the market remain the same as last week. We saw the inventory increase substantially. So of course, we're seeing under contract homes decrease from last week. So we saw 11 homes go under contract this past week. That's an 8% decrease from last week. But honestly, that's just one less home from last week. So nothing drastic there, actually. And then the average list price of homes that went under contract was $1,089,000, which is a 29% increase over the prior week. And then the median days on market, 29 days on the market, which is a 59% decrease over the prior week. So it's nice to see an increase in inventory. Let's hope to see that those numbers build. Overall, I think we want to see that total inventory number go up. That's good for a nice, healthy market. That's definitely good for home buyers. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be getting deals. It just means, the buyer demand could increase as well, but it'll give you more options to choose from rather than what my buyers are doing right now, just sitting around waiting for homes to come on the market. And aside from that, home sellers, if we continue to see that inventory number increase, do keep in mind that means your competition is going to increase. You're going to have more homes that you're competing with. So I'm predicting that we will see that number increase. If you're thinking of selling your home this spring, get ahead of it. Get ahead of that inventory increase. Get ahead of your competition. So thanks so much for checking in with me. Again, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you can enjoy, have a lot of fun, and be safe this snowstorm this weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. Catch you guys again next week.